I'm sure it'll be fine. Even if it's not, it'll be fine. Well, good afternoon. I'm sorry we had a bit of a scheduling snafu, but we're going to go ahead and press forward. I am Mary Robinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Medical Board, and I'm going to talk to you not for an hour today. That's good news, right? 30 minutes max, but I'll stay if any of you have any individual questions. And this is going to be a pretty informal presentation. Normally, we do it sort of in a game show format. There are, in fact, 7 of you here, and I know one of you have already volunteered to participate. I think Thomas or Tom? Is that, yep. And then I would need 2 more. 2 more folks, you? And 1 more who's willing to suffer through it. Hey, it's only 4 other people who are looking at you. Yeah. There you go. So if the 3 of you will join me at the table right down here. Yes, right now. Right now. Seize the moment. Now is the time. Today is the day. So this is going to be a pretty straightforward talk. We are just going to give you some very high-level information. 1, who we are, 2, a little bit about some pitfalls, and 3, what to look for coming up. Here's who we are not, okay? We are not private associations. We are not the Texas Medical Association. They're a lobby group. They do great work, but they are a private group. We are not the American versions of those, the osteopathic group or the allopathic group. They are on their own and separate. We are not the group that board certifies you. They're also a private group that issues all those tests. And the lady who made these slides thought that little picture of boards was funny, haha, because we're the Texas Medical Board. So she put up, we are not, in fact, wood boards. I don't have to do that after this week anymore. I'm just going to take that right on out. So you are the last ones to hear that very horrible joke. Feel special. But what we are is the government agency that determines who gets a license in the state of Texas to either train or to be a physician. And once you have that license, if a complaint comes in, what happens with that complaint? And we also pass the rules surrounding the practice of medicine in the state. So that's pretty straightforward, and that's the most words you're going to see on this type of slide. It's our mission statement. It's to protect and enhance the public's health, safety, and welfare. I think you could have figured that out on your own. But this is what the board talks about when they get together to decide what to do. And the board in Texas is made up of a majority of physicians. So it's other doctors that are trying to decide how this is all going to work in our state. So, like I said, you're going to leave today, you're going to know who we are, some very high-level eligibility issues for the future, and some pitfalls. So let's get started. Congratulations to the 3 of you for volunteering. Round 1, who wants to be contestant 1? None of you know the answers to any of this right now. You've never heard it before, so you might as well just go with it. So, all right, there we go. Round 1, Mindy took step 1 of the licensing exam, USMLE or COMLEX, several months before her classmates because she wanted to practice round to make sure she would do well. Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Can I phone a friend?
No, this is all you. Good idea or bad idea? You're 50-50 shot of being right.
I'm going to say it's a bad idea.
Right. Do you know why?
Can I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Guess, because I'm fairly certain you just did guess. So guess again. It works great. Tell me why.
I'm going to say no because I feel like I don't know. I don't know why I said no, but I got a hunch.
All right. Okay. Here's the reason why that's a bad idea. When you go to apply for full licensing in this state, there is a minimum number of times you can fail any step of the exam. It's 3. So if you ever fail any one step more than 3 times, you have a significant barrier to ultimately being a physician here. So you don't want to use any of those potential times up in practice. If you want to take a practice exam, there are absolutely great courses out there to do that, but never, ever register for the USMLE or the COMLEX until you're ready. Take it when you're ready because you want all of those attempts available to you. You don't ever want that to be a barrier to you being licensed. So just know when you're getting ready to study for that, don't do that. Don't go in just to see what it feels like, because we've seen people do that and wind up with trouble in the future. Yes, ma'am. Once you pass, you can't take it again. You will not be able. So sometimes that happens, and that's not really us at the board, because we don't care what your score is once you pass. But when you're applying for match, they do care what your score is. And so what sometimes happens is folks think it's like the SAT, where you can just take it over and over and just all of your scores will be reported. And that's not the way it works. Once you've passed, they're not going to let you take it again. So make sure that you are fully ready when you go in, and do it to the best of your ability that one time. Because what you want to do is take it once, get the high score, and get out of there and never have to come back again. It's not the end of the world if you have to come back again, but try to make it to where you don't. That's really your goal. So this one you do know the answer to, though, because I just told it to you. In order to be eligible for full licensure, applicants must pass each part of the licensing exam within how many attempts? 3, no limit, or 6?
3.
Good job for you. Oh, wait, there we go. There's your happiness screen. Good job. Mic drop for you. All right. Natasha and Bruce plan to travel the world, contestant 2. Maybe have a few adventures once they finish training. Plenty of time to get a license later, right? What do you think?
No.
Right. Why not?
Because it becomes harder to pass the exams because your knowledge deteriorates.
That's a pretty good answer. If they hadn't already passed all 3 steps, or 4 steps now, that's a good answer. I once had somebody say no because they'd been living in sin. I was like, no, that's not it. Here's the answer we're going for. Whenever you actually finish your residency training and you are going to, or complete a year, that's the minimum, and you want to go apply for a full license, you have to prove in Texas that you are currently clinically competent. And what that defined to mean in our state is in the past 2 years from the date you're going to apply, you had to be actively practicing medicine. And so training counts, it's totally fine, but it's 20 hours a week for 40 weeks a year in one of the 2 preceding years, and it's got to be continuous. So if you take a break to, let's say, start your family and you haven't already applied for your license, you're going to have an issue with that requirement. It can be solved, but it requires a lot more examinations and extra steps, and no one wants to do extra steps. No one wants to take extra examinations. The great part about once you apply is you don't have to prove that again in the future. Once you've got your license, you're not going to have to continually prove clinical competence through that sort of full-time practice definition. So that's why we encourage you, don't wait to apply. You don't necessarily have to practice once you get it, but you have to be clinically competent to get it. So be careful with that timing. So again, full-time practice is defined by the board as at least blank hours a week for at least blank weeks in a given year. A, 20/40, B, pi infinity, or C, 40/52.
I think it's A.
A is exactly right. Good job. There's your thing.
Gangnam Style.
Gangnam Style. Put up. There you go.
Gangnam Style.
Contestant 3. When she was 16, Brooke was arrested for shoplifting. Her parents paid a fine, and the judge said it would be dismissed and would not be on her record. When she applies, do you think she has to tell the board?
Yes.
You are absolutely right. She will have to tell the board. When this comes about, you are going to be asked, when you apply to be a resident and when you apply for a full license, you are going to be asked, have you ever been arrested? It seems straightforward. You would not believe the number of people who get that question wrong. All right? So know in advance. If you've been arrested, you are going to have to disclaim that to the board. There's only one instance in which you do not have to. And it doesn't have anything to do with being a minor, and it doesn't have anything to do with the outcome of the case. If, once the case is over, you went back and got your arrest expunged, and it's called an expunction, okay, it's a specific document, then you can answer no. But you got to have that document pretty much in your hands. Don't rely on your mom to have kept a copy or anything like that, all right? And it was a separate thing that you have to seek out after everything else is over. Your first years, if you've got something like that that you want to get rid of, you got time before you're going to have to apply. But that's the only way you're not going to have to tell us. Be very careful and be very honest. I will be back again when you are all fourth years to talk to you about how to apply, and I'll remind you of this. But for now, just know the easiest way to deal with this is don't get arrested. That's my tip to you. In the next 4 years, do not get arrested. If it is already too late and the die is cast, know that that's going to come up, and know that we're going to be needing documents and things like that in the future. Here is your follow-up. And contestant 3, you got the hard one because I didn't give you this answer necessarily. U.S. or Canadian medical school graduates can apply for licensure after how many years of residency training? 1, 2, or must complete the training?
Must complete the training.
It's actually 1. But I will give you the thing anyway. Let's see if this one happens. There you go. Good. Stand up and dance with me. There you go. Congratulations. Here's the thing. You actually only have to complete 1 year of residency training if you're a U.S. grad, which all of you will be. Why do people do this? Because obviously you're not going to get board certified, right, if you don't complete your residency training. A lot of people do this because they want to moonlight. They want to work outside of their residency program, and it's going to be up to each program depending on how much they allow that. But once you've got your residency permit, it's only good for you to be a resident. So to work outside of it, to make more money, you need that full license. So that's where that 1 year comes in. That's when you will be eligible to do that as long as you're still in the state of Texas. So with that being said, we're going back to contestant 1. Are you ready? We're on round 2. All right, man, here we go. John is really sad about his breakup. He's been moping around, wearing black, binge watching Netflix, generally pissing off his roommates. He's still squeaking a pass, though. Should he see a counselor? That's A. And B, if he does, will he have to tell the board about it?
I'm going to say yes to both.
You're half right. He should see a counselor, and he's not going to have to tell the board. This is something I really want you to hear, guys, because there's an enormous rumor mill in all of the medical schools that if you somehow get treatment for an illness, be it physical or mental, you're going to have trouble getting licensed. It's not the case. You will get licensed. I am the one who ultimately signs off on almost every single license with any kind of blip, and I have seen exactly 2 that I did not license with impairment issues, and they were both in rehab actively at the time. It's not to say they never got licensed. It's just to say while you're in rehab, we're thinking this is not the time. All right? It's not to say that there will not be folks who need monitoring to be able to be a physician. There will be. There will be folks who have a long history of alcohol abuse or drug abuse or something that has otherwise impacted their abilities to practice. But they got licensed and they got through it, and they were able to use the support of the systems around them to ultimately come off that monitoring and be successful. The vast majority of people don't need any monitoring. They go and they get the help they need. It gets resolved. They don't ever have to tell the board. He's squeaking a pass. As long as you're squeaking a pass, you don't have to tell us. In general, there are going to be a few named exceptions for this, bipolar disorder, etc. They'll be on an application in the future. But in general, if this is something you need help with, get help. Do not listen to the rumors. They are all wrong. I am the one who actually signs them. Those people are not the ones who actually sign them. Get the help you need. All right, the Texas Physician Health Program is a blank therapeutic program designed to support healthcare individuals. Still you. Nice try. Still you. Non-disciplinary, disciplinary, or free? You got a 1 in 3 shot.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
Pick one. You're going to be okay, I promise. They're not going to grade you on this.
B.
It's A. That's the good news. This is a private therapeutic program that is non-disciplinary in nature, and if you know going in, right, you know going into your 4th year that you're going to apply for a residency permit, but you also know that you've got an ongoing issue that you have to deal with that will ultimately probably result in monitoring, you can go to the Texas Physician Health Program first. And then when you apply, all you have to do is tell us, I have spoken with the Physician Health Program and this is resolved. If you do that, we will check with them. We'll say, hey, did John Smith actually contact and resolve with you? But they're only going to tell us one of two things. They're either going to say yes or no. If the answer is yes, great. We're not going to ask you anything else. You're done. Your application is going to smoothly sail through. You're not going to have to worry about it. You're finished. If the answer is no, well, obviously we're going to need more information. But this is a way to privately get the assistance that you need or the evaluation you need. A lot of people meet with the PHP and the PHP says, you know what, you're fine. You don't need additional monitoring. We're glad you came by. You can report to the board that it's resolved, but we're done. We don't need anything more. Another alternative will be to submit a letter from your treater that says you're doing fine. And you won't even have to go through the program if you want to do it that way. But just let me reiterate, there's going to be a lot of pathways for you to take. All of them are going to result in you getting a license, so get the help you need when you need it. There's yours. Let's see if we get music on this one. Oh, yeah, it's just low. Uptown Funk. There we go. All right, Meredith Gray, contestant 2, meets a great guy while working as a resident in a family practice clinic. His toenail fungus is all cleared up now, and he asked her out. Is this okay?
What? The toenail.
What do you think? Is that okay?
Yes.
No, it is not okay. Let me put it very straightforwardly. You cannot date your patients. You also cannot have sex with your patients and tell the board you weren't actually dating, all right? Neither is fine. You cannot enter into a personal relationship with your patients. And those folks out there who are going into peds or geriatrics who think, oh, I'm free, you're not. Their guardians also are covered by that same thing, okay? You've got to maintain a boundary between you and your patient. Really, the reasoning behind this is because it's an unequal power situation that you're in. They don't truly feel free to say no because they believe that it could affect their ability to get health care. It could be you're the only doctor in that town, right? So you need to just stay away from that. Treat it like a 10-foot pole. Don't get anywhere near it. And that's the easiest way to do it. Every time I give this talk, somebody says something to me like, well, what if it was 5 years later and I hadn't seen them since and I was at the annual fall ball by the country club and I saw them across the room and I realized we were soulmates. What do I do then? And I say, mazel tov to you. It's been 5 years. Okay? It's not a problem. That's really not your patient anymore. You haven't seen him for 5 years. However, don't do something that the board is going to see straight through. They're not stupid. They're doctors, just like you will be. Don't have it where somebody walks in and you go, wow, you're much hotter than I thought you would be. Let me terminate this real quick. Now do you want to go out on Friday? Because they're not going to be fooled by that, all right? They've seen that way too many times. So just in general, know that. All right. Yes, of course. Sure. There is a website for the Texas Physician Health Program. There's absolutely a website for that. Mm-hmm. Timing-wise, you want to go contact them at the time that you're going to apply. So while you're still a student, obviously you don't need a license to be a student, right? So you're not under the board's jurisdiction at that point. But when you're getting close to applying to be a resident, that's when you need to make that reach out so that you've got enough time to get that done. But right now, they don't monitor students. You could probably do that. 6 to 3 months is probably plenty before match. That's probably plenty because even then, with match being in March, you've got till July 1st, and they know to fast track the resident applications. So, contestant 2, unprofessional and dishonorable conduct that is likely to deceive, defraud, or injure the public includes A, engaging in sexual contact with a patient, B, engaging in sexually inappropriate behavior or comments directed toward the patient, or C, all of the above?
All the above.
Good job. Taylor Swift. Get your shake off. All right. Contestant 3, are you ready? Yeah. All right. Dr. Pinkman thinks nothing of it when his best friend Walter says he sprained his ankle and needs a quick script for pain meds. Is this fine or not fine?
Not fine.
That is absolutely right. This will happen to you. You will become a resident or a physician, and someone will call you up that you know that's a friend of yours, and they'll say something like, bro, I sprained my ankle playing soccer. Can you write me a script for hydrocodone? Your answer is no. Okay? Here's how it goes. For controlled substances, schedules 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll learn all about this lovely stuff. You cannot prescribe to yourself, your friends, or your family in absence of immediate need. Immediate need means an emergency lasting no more than 72 hours. And that means whatever you write is 72 hours worth of dosing. Okay? It's really for emergencies. You can absolutely refer them to somebody else in your clinic or your practice or wherever it is you work. It's not a problem. You can't do it. These drugs are incredibly addictive, though they absolutely have their place in medicine, and they are really contributing to the epidemic of overdose deaths that we're seeing in our country. You need to be careful when you prescribe these things. Absolutely feel free to prescribe them, not to yourself, your friends, or your family. You don't have objectivity in those relationships. Yes, sir. You can't prescribe Schedule 1. They're illegal. Definitionally, Schedule 1 drugs are illegal. So that's, meth. So no. Straightforward, no. But ultimately, once you're out of residency, you will be able to treat yourself, your friends, and your family with all the other kinds of drugs, the antibiotics and all that kind of thing. You'll be allowed to do that. You just can't use controlled substances. So feel free to blame the board. Feel free to say, I remember in first year, this woman came. She looked totally serious about this. I can't risk my license over this, but I can send you to my friend Joe. It's totally fine. Okay, for purpose of Board Rule 190.81M, immediate need is defined as how many hours? 72. Defined by the pain scale, not hours. Or C, infinite.
72.
Good job. They're hilarious. I didn't actually put these together, so they're funny for me whenever I see them. Let's talk about the last round here. This is the bonus round. Facebook, social media, Twitter, Instagram, etc., etc. You are going to learn all about HIPAA. You are going to be so sick of hearing about HIPAA, it is going to flow out your ears by the time this is all over. Believe me. Ultimately, bottom line on HIPAA, you cannot give out information that is readily identifiable to a patient. The end. Sounds easy, becomes very gray because people get into situations where they can't really decide. What you need to do is make it as black and white as humanly possible. HIPAA does not care about the medium, in which way you give the communication. It could be me talking to you right now. It could be the front page of the paper. It could be Facebook. Right now, a lot of people have a misconception that if I put my privacy settings really, really high on my account, or I have very few followers on Twitter or whatever, no one's going to care that I talk. They do care. They absolutely care. And here's the thing. The board isn't actually your biggest problem in this area. Your biggest problem is the fact that the federal government also oversees HIPAA and has a lot of enforcement authority and issues incredibly large fines. Like, for example, there was a medical group office who had been renting a copier, and they didn't realize that every time they made a copy, the machine was storing the data about what they were copying, because who knew? But it was. They sold the machine not knowing it. The people who found or bought the machine found the data, reported it to the federal government. Those people got fined $2 million. And it was totally unintentional. Okay? So, be careful with this. Do not post or make anything public about any of your patients ever. Just don't do it. There's only one get out of jail free card on this, and it's consent. You sign it when you go to the doctor's office for them to talk to other healthcare providers on it. But in general, you're not going to have consent. It has to be written. It has to be specific. So be very, very careful about this. Here is the question. Dr. Dorian, a first-year resident, used his phone to film another doctor inserting a chest tube. You never see the patient's face. He posts the whole video on YouTube for the other residents to see how it's done. Is this fine or not fine?
No, it's not fine.
It is not fine. You are absolutely right. Yay for you.
Because I'm happy, clap along, hear you sing.
It's absolutely not fine. And part of the reason why is an image can be identifiable, right? We've seen cases where people lose their residency slots over this, all right? And the problem with that is trying to get another residency after that becomes really, really difficult. So just be exceptional careful. I always get asked, well, what if a patient takes a picture of us together and they post it? That's not your fault. You're not responsible for that, okay? Don't comment on it. Don't add to it. But it is not your fault. I also get asked about there's a new app out that shows that type of thing, different procedures. I guarantee they're getting consent. If you want to do something with a patient image, if there's a study or there's something unique or there's something you want to preserve for educational purposes, talk to your program. I guarantee your legal department has a consent drafted up and ready to go in these scenarios. Do not make one up on the fly. This will not work out well. Talk to them. They can get it done for you, I'm sure. All right? In general, we just really wanted you to kind of know who we are. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. You will have a handout, I guess, posted to the use page that you have that has this really high-level information. In general, you will not hear from me for 4 more years or 3 more years till you're getting ready to match. But just wanted you to have these high-level bits of information and wanted you especially to know about, don't take the practice exams and don't worry about getting any health care treatment that you need. You're going to be fine. Get the treatment. Any other questions? If not, I want to say thank you to our lovely volunteers. Here is a free scrub shirt for each of you for your pain and suffering. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Medical board.
Y'all sure y'all don't have any questions? Or you're too embarrassed to ask them in front of everyone else?
Yeah, I'm up here if you have anything specific you need to ask.
We didn't talk about professionalism issues, did we?
Well, there's so